Plaintiff Stephen Byram says he and the defendant met through a kink organization called Pups and Handlers, and the defendant is the acting president. Stephen claims he and the defendant were roommates, but Stephen's suing him today for unpaid rent. Defendant Ricky McGee says when he got out of the Marines, he was suffering from PTSD and had recently come out as a gay man. Ricky claims he joined the Pups and Handlers organization because it was a safe space for people to express themselves and participate in human pup play. And he's countersuing Stephen for an illegal eviction.
Start with you.
All right, Your Honor, Rick, also known as Scuff McGee, we met.
What do you call him?
Scuff. It's a nickname of his. We met in 2016 through friends of ours. We're also part of a kink organization known as Seattle Pups and Handlers. I believe the defendant would probably.
You want to tell me about?
Yes, sir. Seattle Pups and Handlers is a 501c7 sociable organization within the gay community in Seattle. We are involved heavily within charitable organizations throughout the city and region, as well as it's just an aspect for people to learn about human pup play.
Okay, go ahead.
So we belong to the same organization. He is the current acting president, and in 2016 he was also given the title of Northwest Puppy. Both of these positions come with some certain social obligations.
Like what?
He would travel to our sister organizations in Vancouver and Portland.
Do what?
He acted as a liaison for our organization to put together group events with both of those organizations.
What type?
So
I'm just letting you expose the organization does. I'm not trying to be funny or anything else. That's why I'm just asking you, what do you all do? He said you all are a nonprofit organization, and so I'm trying to let you all tell what you do. What have you all done with your organization to help others or to help?
We put on social events. We also work within the gay community to donate to certain other charitable organizations.
Like what? Sir?
Certain AIDS foundations, things of that nature. We've also given over $5,000 to Wolf Haven, which is a wolf sanctuary, as well as last year we gave almost $6,000 to the Humane Society.
He must done come to the meetings.
That's right. Yeah.
You need to come to the meetings so you can find out some of the fine work that the organization is doing under his leadership. Hope you all re-elect him, because it doesn't sound like anybody other than him today and here is doing anything. Go ahead. And your lawsuit is regarding what? The rent?
Yes, Your Honor. Because of his positions, I believe that he was committed more to his social obligations and the travel that he was performing, as opposed to taking care of the financial obligations at his home, which included paying the rent to myself.
Okay, what was the agreement on rent, and how did he violate that agreement or break that agreement?
In August, we signed a lease on the order of $2,323 per month. We agreed to split it 50-50. I have text to that.
Okay, and what months has he failed to pay?
He has failed to pay from January until middle of May in 2017.
Sir, what do you say to this?
Sir, I joined the Marines when I was 18, right out of school. 11 years in the active duty military, as well as serving worldwide. When I got out of the military in 2007, I was just trying to figure out who I was. I came out as gay shortly before I got out. I found the pup and handler scene, which is a space for people to escape.
Let me back you up.
Yes, sir.
And you know better than I, but you don't just suddenly become gay, do you?
No, sir. I've always been gay. I've always known it.
So you say you came out gay?
I came out, as in I came out.
Came out. All
yes,
right.
Sir.
You told you let everyone
yes,
know.
Sir.
All right.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
sorry. I don't know what I'm saying.
I apologize
because
for that,
the way
sir.
it sounded, I went into the military.
No.
And I came out gay.
It's amazing what the military does nowadays.
That's what I'm saying. I had to back that up.
No,
we got to clarify that.
Yes, sir. No, I grew up.
That's not my understanding.
Yes, sir. I grew up in a very rural area of the South.
Right.
And so I grew up in a time when it still was not acceptable to be gay.
Absolutely.
So at 26 years old, when I came out, shortly after I got out of the military, And I was trying to find who I was. I was suffering with PTSD, as well as a lot of depression, and I did not know where my place in the community was. And that's when I found, as what he mentioned, the pups and handlers scene, which really is, it's a community-based group, basically, where people to go and express themselves through various types of play, socializations, and things of that nature. In 2009, when I moved to Seattle, is when I found Seattle Pups and Handlers, the one that he's speaking of, and I started working with them. Did a lot of was having a hard time, came out of a really rough relationship, so I was kind of bouncing around trying to find my way with that. Began as part of the board for CPAW just over 3 years ago, became the president in 2016, as well as I did win a regional title of the Northwest Puppy Contest. Yeah. Whereas the travel for that was me going to the various areas such as Vancouver, BC, Oregon, Idaho, things like that, and teaching headspace classes, teaching consent classes on proper and safe consent, as well as safe sex classes and things of that nature. Okay. Through all my travel was paid for through fundraisers. I never came out of my own money to pay for any of that. In 2016, he and I also met through a mutual friend of the organization, where we were both looking for roommates at the time and decided to move in with each other. So from there, I began with my job. My hours were fluctuating. Right after Christmas, I was not getting any hours. I was having a hard time making rent, as well as having a hard time paying child support, because I do have 2 children as well. And my focus was on taking care of my kids. And all my travel was paid for through the organization, not through me. And there was times when I didn't even eat, even when I was still living there, which he was aware of this, because every penny I had would go towards taking care of what I could. And it just got to a point where I couldn't do it. So he and I worked out to where I would try to pay him back, and we would go through that route. And then I got the notification that he found someone else to rent my room, and that I had 2 weeks to move out. He told me I could stay on the couch, but as someone said, the spine fuse and rods and screws, sleeping on a couch is not necessarily the best for me. I really need a bed. It's much easier on me. And so through help from a friend of mine, I ended up moving into an RV that he helped me purchase, which I lived out of, basically homeless, living out of that from May until about a month ago.
So where do you say to the rent, though, from January to May?
Yes, sir.
When did he tell you the roommate was available to move in?
2 weeks prior to.
I know. What month is that?
That would be April.
All right.
Towards the end of April.
All right. So let's talk about January, February, March.
Yes, sir.
Why didn't you pay that?
I didn't have money to pay it, sir. I was only getting.
So you didn't have money to pay it for the first 3 months, but the other months you blame on the new roommate?
No, there was no new roommate. I was kicked out.
Because a new roommate was coming.
Correct.
So there was a new roommate.
Right.
You're talking about there's no new roommate. It is.
For him,
you
yes,
didn't
sir.
pay him January, February, March. So he said, I'm bringing in a new roommate who will pay. I will be nice enough to let you stay here on the couch or wherever, but I have to move someone in this room who will pay. And you said no, or you said yes?
I didn't really have much to say, sir.
Yes, you did. You could have said, I'm not moving until you give me a court-ordered eviction. That's what you could have said.
Yes,
but what did you say?
I said I would be out, sir.
All right, you consented.
And I have the text to that as well.
All this protesting and talking in circles in here, you have a text. What's your counterclaim, sir? Your counterclaim is that it was an illegal eviction. How was it illegal? Particularly if he's showing me something where you agreed to pay.
Because through our lease agreement with Invitation Homes, he and I both were on the lease. He was not on the lease by himself, nor was he the main leaseholder. Mm-hmm. So he was not authorized to have me move out due to our lease agreement.
He told you he wanted you to, and you did it on your own, remember?
But if he rents my room out and said he already has somebody moving in, that I need to be out of the room.
He told you he was going to do it first, and you didn't protest. All you have to do is protest. You can't not protest something, and then when it happens, oh, it shouldn't have happened. Someone says to you, I'm going to do such and such. They're seeking your consent. And whatever your answer is will affect the outcome. He says, I'm moving someone else in so I can get some rent paid. You could have said, no, you're not. He gonna sleep on the floor if he do come in here. He ain't getting my room. Could have said that. Or you could have said, don't talk to me till you get a court order. Don't come in here talking to me. Matter of fact, get out my room. I'll give you that rent when I got it now. Otherwise, go tell it to the judge. So instead, on April 3rd, you say, I have to move so you can get someone in that can pay rent. You suggest moving. Like I said, you don't have to move out, but until you square your debt to me or John moves out, the room is here. Sorry, man. Sir, you're the one even suggested that he move a roommate in because you couldn't pay anymore. Now you want to sue him for that, for what you suggested that he do. Judgment for the plaintiff, $5,000. Your claim is dismissed. Have a good day.
I'm hoping that we can move forward after this. He was a good friend, and I believe he still is.
I think that time has passed. I tried to work, and he wouldn't work with me. Instead, he moved somebody else in and made me homeless. So.
Plaintiff Monica Ramos rented a house from the defendant and her husband. But 2 weeks after she moved in, they told her to move out. Monica suspects the reason they asked her to leave was because they did not accept her biracial children. And Monica's suing because she claims the defendant had her friends leave Monica harassing voicemails, which she has in court. Defendant Esther Torres insists she never had a problem with Monica's biracial children. And from the time she moved in, Monica knew it was temporary. However, Esther was forced to evict Monica, and she's countersuing for unpaid rent and late fees.
All rise. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Greg Mathis presiding. You may now be seated.
Start with you.
This is my former landlord. At first, I thought she was
When
going
did
to
you
be
move
my
in?
landlord. On May 3rd. Her and her husband, I first met them through the phone. They ended up showing at my house. 2 weeks later, her and her husband seen my kids come out the house, and that's when I explained to her, oh, my kids are half black, their dad's black, therefore they're biracial. That's
Where'd that come from? What that got to do with?
Your Honor,
Had you already moved in?
I had already moved in.
Okay, let's start there. There before you play the race card. All right, so you just jump right into that. On May 3rd, that's when you moved in. What was
Yes.
the rent?
The agreement was $700 a month plus the $700 deposit.
Did you have a lease or was it month to month?
Month to month?
All right. How long after you moved in did you blurt out, my kids are half African American, just want you to know. They might tear the spot up as a result. I mean, why are you saying that? That's what's throwing me off. Why did you have to mention the race of your children?
I mentioned that after her and her husband looked at each other and they had that look in shock.
What look?
Just a look on her face like, okay, why are her and her boyfriend real light and my kids are really dark? So,
Okay.
so
Got it.
I have to explain
they're really
they
dark.
are my kids, yes.
Got it. All right, so that's what made you explain to them, because they looked at each other and said, these dark-skinned children couldn't possibly be hers or something is going on. And so that's when you said, okay, I think and believe this is why they're doing this.
Yes.
All right, there you go. That sounds like a reasonable belief. So you told her that, and what was her response?
They looked at me and seen that I was young. They looked at each other, and that's when her husband went on a rant and said they didn't agree to the rental agreement, that we needed to move out.
How long had you been in before they looked at your children and said you need to move out?
2 weeks.
2 weeks after moving in, they came, they saw your children, and then at that specific time, they said, you got to move out.
Yes.
We didn't know about this. This is nope. Can't do it. What nationality are you?
Puerto Rican.
Puerto Rican? Okay. They were all right, obviously.
Yes.
But that. Just don't be black. Be Puerto Rican. What else can they be? You don't know?
No.
See, what else can they be? You didn't want them to be black. You all right with Puerto Rican. But what else don't you want them to be? You're the one who got into this race thing. Yeah. So, that's all. Let's move on. Did you move out or what did you do?
No.
Okay.
In May, she gave us a notice saying that the house was going to be for sale. That was going to be an escrow, so we had 30 days to move.
May what? Beginning? Second, third week?
Maybe around May 5th. Somewhere
All
around
right.
there.
You're confusing me here. You say you moved in May 3rd.
March. I said
When did you move in again? Let's try that again.
March 3rd.
March 3rd, not May 3rd. All right. And it was May that she told you you all had to move out because they were selling the property.
Correct.
But 2 weeks into March, they said you have to move out because of those children.
Yes.
All right.
Not because of the children, but when they seen my children and myself, they then said that they didn't agree to anything.
All right. They denied having a lease with you.
Correct.
You all didn't have one written, obviously. It was just a month to month.
Correct. We had
All
a
right.
month-to-month agreement.
Nothing in writing.
No.
Okay. Good enough. Let me hear from you, ma'am.
My name is Esther Torres, Your Honor, and thank you for the opportunity to present our case. I'm the defendant, Your
Now, you
Honor,
got your
as
glasses
well.
on today, so you know I'm black.
I
don't want you to walk out my courtroom. Don't walk out my courtroom. We all right.
Your Honor, I have relatives in my family, so
The way she started out with that, ma'am, I always question that
have
when
a
that's the first
mixture-
thing out of a person's mouth.
But I have an agreement here, month-to-month agreement, dated March the 3rd. When I first met Monica and Jason, we drove up to our rental house, which we had been repairing for about 5 months because we were preparing it for sale. We drove up on or about March the 3rd, March the 2nd. I can't remember the exact date.
It was 2 weeks.
But we drove up and see children and children's toys in the front yard. We saw a couch on the porch. The front door was wide open. Unbeknownst to us, people were moving into our rental home. We did not know anyone was moving in. I got off the car and I looked to my right, and Monica and Jason were standing there, and the maintenance man walks up. I said, "What's going on here?" He looks right at Jason and Monica and he says, "I thought you said my dad would allow you to move in." There was no reaction from either one of them, no response. So they appeared to be a sweet couple to me. I saw 3 babies under the age of 3. Yes, they're African American, but that did not influence my decision whatsoever. We invited them to our home. That afternoon, we invited them to our home.
Did they come?
They came without the children. They came.
Now you're wrong. Now I'm with you. Now, why you tell them to keep the children home? Why'd you say they can't come?
They were welcome.
So you
Your
can
Honor.
come and lead them babies home. Why couldn't the children come?
They just didn't. They didn't bring them. I don't know.
Did you tell them they couldn't come?
No, Your Honor.
Yes, she
That
did,
was-
didn't she?
That was not part of the conversation. We invited them. I saw a young couple, Your Honor. I saw myself 50 years ago as a young couple trying to get started in life. So we invited them to our home.
Okay.
We wanted to keep the emotion out of it because we were in a state of shock at that point. We welcomed them into our home and talked about the house and their willingness to move in. She brought me a month-to-month rental agreement that was dated March the 3rd, not May the 3rd,
you all
not May
sign
the
it?
5th. It was signed, and the maintenance
Ma'am, you
man,
just told me you didn't
the
sign
maintenance
anything.
man signed it with them.
Why did you tell me that?
I said we had a month-to-month agreement.
Right, and I said, did you sign anything?
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you.
What do you mean?
Oh,
You
sorry.
said no twice.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'll continue my story, Your Honor. Anyway, we discussed with them that the house was still under repair. That was fine with them. And we explained to them that the house was going on the market. We didn't know how long it was going to take to sell, but they were willing to move in. We allowed them to move in. Once the house sold, we told them that they were going to have to move out.
Did you all put that in the lease?
No.
You should have. Go ahead.
They moved in and they paid their rent on time. They brought me a their rental payment in April, on April the 1st, and on May the 1st. They did give us $1,400 first and last month's rent in March when they came to visit in
Now, that's
March.
what you're suing her about, rent. Let me allow her to tell me about her claim, and that's the harassment. How did she harass you?
In May, that's when she showed up to our house, said we had 30 days to move. Me and my
I have
family.
a copy of that letter, Your Honor, if it's of any interest to you.
Me and my family weren't ready for that, so we stayed. In August, we did move out. During the whole time, she was having people call us all kinds of days and night. I have harassing voicemails saying that I was going to be drug tested, that I had a meth lab, that my house was filthy, that my kids were going to get taken away by CPS, that I was going to get evicted. They were
You
turning
have
off
that?
my
You
water.
say, what do you have
Yes,
to
I do.
indicate that?
I have them written in transcript, but I do also have the voicemails if you'd like to hear them.
Yep, let me hear the voicemail.
Yes, ma'am. Calling to inform you that you've been reported to the Child Protective Services for living in a dwelling that actually you've been evicted and will be there to inspect tomorrow. I just wanted to inform you you've been reported.
This message is from Max. Max, you give me a call. I want you out of there by tomorrow.
Yeah, Monica? Yeah, I just want to let you know that I'm going to make sure that your kids are taken away and they're going to drug test you. I just want to let you know, ha ha, who up.
Your Honor, I don't recognize those voices. I do not recognize those voices.
You have anybody else that would have a motive to do this?
I do not.
And this is June of 17. And when was she evicted? When were they evicted?
We filed for eviction on or about June the 15th.
Okay, so they had been evicted. So somehow this person knew that.
It's possible, Your Honor.
How do you think that person knew?
I have no idea, Your Honor.
Okay. How did you respond? Did you say something to them? And what was the result? Did you have Child Protective Services? Did they come and inspect? And did any of these things happen?
I did. After I got the voicemail, maybe 2-3 weeks later, CPS came. They said the calls were unknown. I also let them listen to the voicemail.
All right. So when they investigated, what did they determine?
That all of it was false. The CPS man was also laughing, like, why would they say that? Why would they say your water's off?
All right, and you believe she did it, and that's why, or she was complicit in this voicemail and report to CPS, because CPS did in fact come. Quite frankly, I might not find it actionable leaving you nasty voicemails. However, when the CPS does come, then that's a whole nother level of harassment. Your counterclaim, ma'am, $2,400. How does she owe for rent and late fees?
Your Honor, if I may go back also to this CPS thing for a minute, I saw Monica around her children twice. I never saw anything between their interaction that would cause me to file a complaint with any agency against
I know, and that's what she's saying. She's saying that you lied on her to cause her a problem. That's exactly what she's saying. She's saying you didn't see anything, but you or somebody called to give her a problem. That's exactly what she's saying. Y'all saying the same thing. You didn't see it, so it didn't happen. But somebody lied and said it did happen. Y'all saying the same thing.
Untruths to me, but if I can tell you, Your Honor, so we gave them 30 days to find another place. 5 days later, Your Honor, she calls me. Esther, I found a house. I can move in on the 1st, but I need my security deposit. Can I come pick it up? I believed her, Your Honor. I trusted her. I have a copy of my bank statement showing that I pulled out the money. I gave her $700 cash. She came on a Sunday. It was the day after I got out of
What
church.
months does she owe you for rent?
She owes me for June, July, and August.
Did you pay June, July, and August?
I did not.
When did you move?
In August. And
All right. Why don't you think you should pay?
she had already said we had been evicted. The first time I asked her.
Right, but did you stay June, July, and August?
I did.
So why shouldn't you pay for where you lived? What am I missing?
She had already told us we were being evicted.
But you stayed. And so you should pay for where you stay. You don't understand that concept?
I do.
You stay somewhere, you pay them. Whatever the threats, unless the court gives you an order, then you move immediately. And then that order will indicate how much you owe during that eviction. Did you evict them?
Yes,
Legally?
we went to court, Your Honor. Yes,
You
we
did
went
go to court.
on the 17th. And the
Got
judge
me going
ordered
through
her
all
out.
this and you did go to court, ma'am. Why are you acting like you don't owe any money? Did you get a judgment against you?
Yes, she did.
In August.
Yeah.
For 700.
That's when you moved.
For 700 only.
Ma'am, I'm looking at this judgment for $1,783. I think you've been misleading me all along. I knew you were misleading me about these kids. This woman didn't care about your kids being half black. You contradicted yourself 3 times. I'm going to circle what the court says. You can keep grinning, but while you grin, your claim is dismissed and hers is granted. Have a good
Thank you,
day.
Your Honor.
Like, the stuff I want to say is really inappropriate. She's older than me, obviously, so I'm not going to say anything to her right now. But I do not like her.
I just have to
For
say
anything.
that the judge ordered right. Justice was served. This young
Just because
lady,
you're older doesn't mean anything.
this young
okay?
lady is
Okay.
always looking for an opportunity to get funded for things that she doesn't earn.
Plaintiff John Tello says when he met the defendant, he thought he was an intelligent young man until John saw him smoking methamphetamines. John claims the defendant is now being supported by an older sugar mama, and he's suing for breach of contract. Defendant Dustin Bolts rented an apartment from John, and he believes the only reason he's in court today is because he rejected John's advances. Dustin claims John is an openly gay man who made a pass at Dustin, and Dustin felt so uncomfortable that he moved out.
Start with you.
Your Honor, I came to know Dustin Bolts around January of this year. Dustin is a very intelligent, very talented young man. I felt he had good character. So I got to know him, and I learned that both of his parents had passed away. He really didn't have anybody to help him get along in life. So I decided to work with him a little bit and mentor him. I come to learn that Dustin uses methamphetamine. He smokes it. And
How did you come to find that out?
I observed him smoking methamphetamine
When?
over by my offices.
What month or?
This occurred approximately February.
Okay, and it was only that one time though? You can't smoke crystal meth just one time and leave it alone from what I understand, but that's all you saw?
Yes, I observed him on multiple occasions smoking methamphetamine.
Got it.
So I talked to Dustin about this, and I told him that methamphetamine is going to destroy his character. It is going to diminish his ability to earn a living, and it is going to make him broke. He didn't listen to my advice, and as time went on, he would not give up smoking methamphetamine. Then I come to learn that he had acquired a new, older sugar mama girlfriend, and that is why we are here today. I'm seeking your help, Judge. Help me to save my good friend. Help me to teach him a valuable lesson about life and why he should stop using methamphetamine.
All right. Thank you. Let me hear from you, young man.
The only reason why I feel we're here today is because he is an openly gay man. And I don't go that way. And he has made passes at me that made me move out of his place.
So when you told him no the first time, what happened?
Yes, sir.
He tried and you, or he said something to you to imply?
He continued to do
no, the first time.
obscene
Because
gestures.
people don't continue to do unless there's something the first time that gives the
Yes,
impression that they can continue to do.
Yes, sir.
Or, you know, that second time, that's
Yes,
when
sir.
you kind of check them hard. And so that's what I'm trying to find out. What your reaction was, because you say he hit on you regularly.
Yes, sir.
So what was
I told
your
him-
reaction the first time?
I told him I didn't swing that way.
Second time?
There wasn't a second time.
So you only did it once? I thought you said
Yes,
he
sir,
kept
but it made me
making
very
passes.
uncomfortable.
Made you uncomfortable how?
Just he was always looking at me and just, I come from...
How long did it take for you to move out after he first looked at you?
Well, I met my girlfriend,
Sugar
my
mama?
sugar mama. And, me and her, it didn't take me but 2 weeks after I met her to move out into her house because he was constantly coming in the place while I wasn't there. I would notice stuff moved and, I deserve my privacy. I was paying him. I paid him in full. I don't think I owe him
Tell me
anything.
about this crystal meth.
I don't smoke crystal meth.
Never
I
have?
don't do crystal meth. No,
Never
sir.
have?
No, sir. I work for a living. I don't.
What type of work?
I do commercial cabinetry work. I run a laminate machine.
All right. Sir, he's not admitting to having a problem. I can't help a person until they admit, or, I can push him into it if I'm convinced that he is, or if it's clear that he is, but I'm not convinced. Just don't see it, I don't know, and so I can't even shame him. Most folks come in and I'm convinced, or they admit, and I don't need no rehab. I smoke crack every day, but I don't need rehab. And I'm gonna shame them into going. Call them all sorts of crackhead, you're no good, and maybe they'll leave here and say, Judge went off on me, let me go to rehab. So that when people see this on television, they come up to me, I say, yeah, but I'm in rehab now. But I can't do that to him because I'm just not convinced. So he said he saw you several times. That's just a total lie.
Yes, sir. I do not.
And you were never involved with him intimately?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Sir, you want to resume?
Yes, Your Honor, I was approached by Dustin in approximately March. He wanted to use the front part of my lease property, and I told him, well, I'll let you use the front part of the lease property, but you have to pay me $500 a month plus the electric bill. That's all I required him to pay. Well, as time went on, each month he did not pay me the full amount of the electric bill and the rent. So after 2 months, I was going to move him out, but he had filed his tax return and had a refund, a large refund coming. He asked me, or he promised me he would pay the back rent out of his refund check. I allowed him to stay.
You know that wasn't happening, but go ahead.
So I allowed him to stay, and come June, I caught him moving out. Never informed me, so I stopped and talked to him. I said, you still owe me a little over $800 in back rent. Do you have that since you're moving out? And he said he didn't have any money. So I asked him, well, did you receive your tax refund check yet? And he said, yes, I did receive that. Well, you going to pay me? And he said, well, I had to use that to pay my meth bill. So I said, you paid your meth bill instead of paying your rent bill? And I said, Dustin, you're going to sign a promissory note for the money that you owe me.
Did you?
And he agreed to sign a promissory note. So I
Let's
got
see that.
me a
You have
promissory
it.
note, and I had him sign that.
Okay. And sir, I don't know if you saw me cut my eye towards you quite a bit. But I'm trying to really get my arms around whether you crystal meth addict. Maybe you've been working too hard because you kind of look. Don't you?
I'm upset.
Huh?
I'm upset.
Okay. All right.
And
I
as
can't
far as-
figure you out. I got to be honest. No wonder you've been getting away so long. I can't figure you out.
As far as my meth bill goes, I used my tax return to get my truck insured and get it properly put on the road because the tow truck people were coming around slapping stickers on people's cars that was in the parking lot, and they actually towed my brother's car. So I used my income tax to get my truck registered and get it on the road.
All right. Well, he shows me something you signed agreeing to pay.
I signed my first name to that just to get him out of my face so I could get my stuff out of there.
Did it work?
Yes.
He's still in your face. No, it didn't, sir. And you signed this. Judgment for the plaintiff, 852. Have a good day.
I want to really help Dustin. I consider him my friend. And I would not be a good friend if I didn't do everything that I can do to help him stop using methamphetamine.
Man, stop saying I'm using methamphetamine.
You know, most people that use illicit drugs, the last thing they want to do is admit that they have a problem.
This man is a pig. Straight up. I don't have anything to say to you. I don't want to be your friend no more. I don't want nothing from you.
Plaintiff Rebecca Woodall says the defendant was her roommate, and she claims the defendant has prostitute priorities because she changes men like underwear and uses them for money. Rebecca is suing her former roommate for unpaid rent. Defendant Jessica Rodriguez says Rebecca is the one who was arrested for prostitution and domestic violence, and she also abuses drugs. Jessica is countersuing for half of the lease termination fees.
All rise. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Greg Mathis presiding. You may now be seated.
Start with you.
Yes, sir. I just want to start out by saying that Jessica has prostitute priorities. She's all about men and money. She changes boyfriends like she changes underwear, and she's got boy toys on the side. She's always having a good time on somebody else's dime and doesn't pay for anything.
Now, clarify some of these allegations. You're saying she has sex with men for money?
No. I said she changes boyfriends
said prostitution wage. You did say that.
She has prostitute priorities, men and money.
Okay.
I'm not saying she has sex for money. I'm saying she has a bunch of boyfriends and then she just likes to spend everybody else's money.
Okay. A lot of folks, women and men, have priorities of those same sort, and they're not prostitutes. All right. And not all prostitutes that in their first and second priority. Some of them are their children, some of them are their family, some of them are a lot
correct.
of other reasons.
Go
ahead.
I've known Jessica and her sister Belle Marie for the past 15 years. I went to middle school with Belle. I spent pretty much every weekend at their house. We were like sisters. In May, Jessica came to me, told me that her lease was ending. My lease was ending as well. Previously, Belle Marie had stated to me, I think it'd be a good idea for you and Jessica to be roommates. You know, she's kind of wild. She's a little boy crazy. Maybe you could calm her down and teach her some womanly independence. So I agreed to it. The first weekend that we're there, Jessica wanted to have this housewarming party. I was reluctant. A housewarming party. I didn't want to have it. I was still living in boxes and she was all moved out. So even though I was reluctant, it happened anyway. They ended up going to the club. I got left there so her and her boyfriend could go back to the apartment and have sex. I ended up getting a ride back to the apartment.
They didn't tell you they were leaving you?
No. I had no idea that Jessica was not going to walk into the club behind me until I turn around like, where's Jessica? Okay. Oh, she's left. We got back to the apartment, call it a night. As the days and the weeks pursue, I'm seeing on Instagram where she's in the club. Okay. She left the state. Okay. Partying in Colombia. Okay. Well, then why are you not paying your full amount of rent every month? Why am I having to come out of my paycheck to pay?
It's called ghetto fabulous.
I guess that's what you call it.
You buy and do what you want, and then you beg for what you need, or you don't pay at all what you need. Go ahead.
So
when you mention these things to her, what'd she say?
That somebody else was paying her way. I stated, well, don't you pay for parking? Don't you pay for gas? Don't you pay for upkeep on your car? Yeah. Well, then you're spending money.
All right. Let me get some background from you, ma'am.
Okay. I think I've made the biggest mistake. Okay. I'm living with someone that does drugs, okay, has a case for domestic violence.
Nope, that's a lie.
Prostitution.
No,
and
that's a lie too. Wow.
When we got this apartment, Your Honor, when we got
this apartment, have a charge for prostitution.
No, I do not. No, I do not. That's
Your
Honor, you're lying,
yeah,
Jessica.
Your Honor.
When we did this prostitution talk, you the one with the case.
Yes, actually, Your Honor, I don't have a prostitution charge.
When
pulling this out of thin air.
Okay.
Your Honor, when we decided to move in, okay, we wanted to move in together. She couldn't be on the lease because of her criminal, because she had a case and it wasn't sealed. Okay.
That's
They
a
said
lie as
because of
well.
her background,
That's a lie as
because
well.
of her, I'm talking, because of her
Go ahead,
background,
lie.
she could not be on the lease. So I had to be on the lease solely. Okay.
And you got on the list because of my income, right?
I'm talking. I let you talk. Let me talk. You wanted me here. I'm here. Okay.
All right,
So,
ma'am.
so
Go ahead.
fine, everything good. She wanted me. We came into an agreement, and I have the proof. I was going to pay $500 a month. She was going to pay $1,000, and I have the proof right here, Your Honor.
No, I said I
Okay.
could
What was the
afford
amount?
over $1,000,
What
but
was
I
the
never
amou-
said.
Ma'am, what was the amount she was to pay?
She was to pay $500 if she could, and then if she could afford more, then she was supposed to
That was
pay
never
more.
spoken
So
about.
500, we do know that was spoken.
Of course, and it's here, and I have the evidence, sir.
Okay, now, with regard to the lease, ma'am, was it in her name?
The lease wasn't.
Solely?
The lease was solely in her name. The reason I couldn't be on that lease is because, yeah, there was a criminal domestic violence charge against me and my ex from 5 years ago. I defended myself because I didn't want to go to an ambulance.
Good.
I went to jail. If you call South Carolina, that record's been sealed. They did a background check illegally. She convinced me not to go and just mess with them and go to a different.
All right, we're done with
point
that.
is
You
she got
defended
the-
yourself. Instead of going to the ambulance, you decided to go to jail.
I didn't
That
know I was
might
going to go to jail
just-
until afterwards.
Hey, depending on the situation, that may have been a good choice.
I went being a
So, with regard to the rent, how does she owe you?
So if she's able to go out to the club and to the park,
All right, tell me the months that she failed to pay.
July, August, September, and October.
All right, her 500 each time.
Seven.
Her
14
her part was 500 a month.
If up until
Thank you.
September, because then I came to her. I said, "Listen, you're able to go here. You're able to go here. You go to here." I have receipts where she's spending money, and then when I confronted her, she said, "Okay."
And when you mention it to her, she would say what? When you
She
tell her
said-
she's overdue.
Here she said the rent is $1,589. We are both paying $794. So if you can only pay $500, then why are you going to sit here and state that we're both going to pay more than that?
All right, but you agreed to the 500. So let's get to whether she paid anything. You're saying from July through October, she didn't pay a dime on that 500.
She did not pay her full $500.
Right. Okay, she paid part of it?
Yeah.
All right, you have to prove your case. So far, you're not. So far, I'm proving it, or you're relying on me to prove it. So you
I
got
was
one
paying
more
over
time. You're talking about, I guess.
I was paying
maybe.
over nine-
Yeah, some. I don't know how much she put on it.
So my money orders were over $900.
Okay, that's yours.
Correct.
Okay. And that's all I've been asking you about, and you won't tell me or you don't know. I asked you what months did she fail to pay. July through October. Then we get into how much did she fail to pay. Then you go to talking about where there was
242.
pardon?
242.
Ooh, thank you.
My apologies. I am a blonde.
So she paid everything but 242.
Yes, sir. I apologize.
All right, that's all I'm asking, the exact amount she failed to pay when she was obligated to that $500 that she missed from July through October. Okay. All right, ma'am, what do you say to this?
Your Honor, if the rent is $1,424 and her money orders say $984, let's do the math here. How much have I paid every month?
No, let's answer my questions here. Now, you said the agreement was $500 a month. Let's stick with that.
Yes.
Did you pay $500 a month from July through October?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you paid every dime in rent from July through October?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. How did you pay it?
I paid it with money order.
You have a copy of one?
I don't have it, but I do have the final bill of what everything is due. And she paid her part and I paid my part every month.
You showing me something from July through October?
Yep, everything was paid.
Ma'am, she says this reflects full payment.
Yes, sir. Our bills were paid in full, but that's because I had to come out of my check when she was short and pay the rest of it.
She was short for those, what, $248 a month? Is that what you're saying?
$242, yes, sir.
My budget was to pay $500 a month and hers was to pay the rest. That $242 is over $500. These are the text messages right here, Your Honor.
Did you commit to that, though?
I committed to paying $500 a month.
Not the $242.
Because that was half. That would have been half. I committed to paying $500 a month and her $1,000. I should have paid half, but my budget and our agreement was $500
right. You should have paid your half.
And if you were okay with doing $500 a month,
then why did you lie to me that you didn't have the money, but you can leave the country?
I'm not your girlfriend. I'm not your mom. How are you going to charge me $242?
All you can charge her for is $500. The only agreement, as you stated, was $500 a month.
When she was able to go out and have fun, and we had the discussion.
It doesn't matter. I pay my
Jessica,
rent.
we had the discussion about money, and then you said to me that you were going to start paying.
Because they
you
pay
told me
for
that
it.
you're going to start paying your part of the rent.
She's paid her $500. She paid her $500.
In September, she came to me and said, "I can afford it."
How are you countersuing her for $2,627?
I terminated the lease, did an eviction because of this. Her messiness in the house. She wanted me to help her clean and help her cook. I did it for the beginning, but after I saw the abuse that she does, okay, her dog everywhere in the house.
Okay, my dog gets mad, but I clean up after. So
mess in the house. Mess. I'm not going to clean over an adult that has 31 years old. I'm not going to clean her mess. Sorry, but I'm not.
No, honey, that's our apartment, so that's our mess.
This is not our mess. This is your mess.
That's not my. Oh, that's after I got pissed off and left.
Quiet. So you say you terminated the tenancy. She should pay all of it, or you
it's
just
half
want
because
half?
at the end I was living there too.
Okay.
So I would want her
Why
to
do
pay
you
all of it.
say you shouldn't
but
pay half of
because
the
I was there
termination?
too.
Judge, nobody forced her out. Nobody asked her to leave. In fact, she tried to
with your
have me
messiness,
removed.
with your
and I didn't even
disgustingness.
know that Jessica had
It's
moved out till I came
unbearable
home
to
from
live
work
there.
and all of her stuff's gone.
You
I
never
have no
warned her
notice, no
about
nothing.
that?
We're leaving. I told her, get your stuff out. If they don't get your stuff out, they're going to evict. They're going to put it outside. I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere. You can't evict me.
I'm
You're
paying
gonna
the
have to go to
majority of the
court,
bills.
and it's
How
gonna
are you
take
gonna live
30 to
there unless
60
I'm living
Okay,
there?
I
You
warned
can't
you know
afford
what?
it.
I'm out. I warned you. I'm out.
Based on what I'm hearing, ma'am, I'm going to grant you half of the termination fees, and that would be the $2,627, because it sounds like you all left because you had a hostile environment there.
Yes.
And neither of you should have stayed together, even if you wanted to. And with regard to the rent, ma'am, I'm going to conclude that she doesn't owe you, because the claim you're making today is based on something beyond your agreement. Your agreement was $500 a month. You told her if she can pay you more sometimes, or when she can pay you more, or if she can pay you more, do so. And that's what your $242 claim is. You thought she could do more because she was partying. Well, she said somebody else paid for the partying and the travel.
Saying that she's actually spending the money, and her boyfriend came to me and said, "I can."
So I'm not supposed to spend money on a daily basis?
Ma'am, there was no set amount beyond $500. I can't just let you arbitrarily say, let me throw $242 a month on it. No, you have to dismiss your claim, and I'm granting yours. Have a good day.
Thank you.
I'm sorry that it had to come down to this. I'm sorry that this broke our friendship. Y'all were my sisters. I don't think this shouldn't be the end of our friendship, and I'm just sorry that it came down to this.
I mean, I wish that we would have dealt with this problem instead of you lying and doing all that stuff.
I just don't think they need to live together. That's it. They just need to separate ways and keep it moving.
Plaintiff Kristen McCrae was good friends with the defendant, but she has recently distanced herself because she's tired of the defendant's tall tales. Kristen claims the defendant once lied about Run DMC picking her up in a limo that belonged to Eddie Murphy. And today, Kristen is suing her for unpaid rent. Defendant Heidi Taylor says Kristen has a habit of choosing physically abusive men who cheat and use drugs, and Heidi thinks Kristen deserves better. Heidi insists she was paying her rent directly to the property owner and therefore doesn't owe Kristen, and she's countersuing for the costs associated with a plumbing issue.
Start with you.
I've known Heidi since about 1996. Around 2008, we became really close friends. To the point that my kids call her Aunt Heidi. Throughout the years, I've distanced myself from her from time to time because she tends to be a little bit dramatic, and there's always something huge going on in her life. And she always tells big, crazy stories. One in particular, when she was a kid, she ran off to California, and she was at a party, and supposedly a limo came and picked her up, and she hopped in the limo, and it supposedly was Run DMC, and they took her shopping, took her around town, left her with a car. Later on that night, they got pulled over in the car, and the police said, "Don't worry about it. It's Eddie Murphy's car, and he does it all the time." So we just kind of smiled and nodded.
all the time?
Leaves
So
them.
how did you go from Run DMC to Eddie Murphy?
Exactly. He dropped her off at a party and left her with the car.
I want to hear it. She said, no, you're not telling me the whole story. What's the story?
I was younger. I did go to California when I was 19. I do have pictures to prove it. But yeah, we did meet Run DMC, hung out at a party. We did end up meeting Eddie Murphy. He rented us a car because me and my friend didn't have one.
Wow. Oh,
there was like a big party. It was a big party.
Go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead.
We all just know that Heidi tells stories, and we just kind of smile and nod, and we love her, and we know that's how she is.
That sounds entirely possible. They certainly have a lot of young ladies who come out to California and hook up with the stars the first time they see them, and then hook up with the next star when they see him.
I believe
and
that.
ride in their cars and in their limos. Go ahead, ma'am.
She used to be in a really abusive relationship, and she left him, and ever since then she just kind of has been kind of irresponsible, like even with her kids, like they're always just kind of running amok. They steal from her. There's always something going on. They're now grown, but they still take advantage of her. And I think she's just trying to make up for them, you know, seeing her get beat up all the time.
All right, let me hear from you, ma'am.
So yeah, I met Chrissy quite a few years back. She through my sister. A little background, one thing about Chrissy is she tends to choose men who are abusive and cheat on her and who do drugs. I think Chrissy deserves way better than that, so it kind of breaks my heart. I was in an abusive relationship, and I know what kind of damage it can cause to your children and to your self-esteem.
Okay.
I did, however, get out of that relationship. I went back to college. I actually graduated in 2013, 3 months before my mom died from breast cancer. She did ask to see me graduate, so that was something, a goal for us.
All right, tell me about the rent.
So I used to own a 6-plex apartment, and I sold it, and as a condition of the sale, I had a 10-year lease for the front apartment, and I prepaid for the entirety of the lease $200 a month, leaving me with $300 a month to pay. I in turn sublet the apartment, and I sublet it to Heidi for $550 a month. And she moved in June of 2016, and she was paying her rent, not usually on time, but she would pay it. And in May, she stopped paying me. So she paid, she got a hold of the owner of the building because I still have to pay the owner $300. So she got a hold of the owner of the building and started to pay him directly the $300 and just completely stopped paying me the other $250. So I'm suing for May, June, July, and August.
All right, ma'am. What do you say to this? She said you failed to pay what you owed her from May through August.
I did not pay her. I did go directly through the building owner. That is correct.
But you didn't have an agreement with him.
No, however, he did give me, him and Chrissy went to court. He won the apartment back. I did get a 3-day notice from the sheriff. They were putting my stuff out in 3 days. So I did pay him the rent so that I could stay there and the sheriff not put my stuff out.
That's actually not true.
And then
she paid me the rent that month. We did lose the eviction when she called me crying that the sheriff was going to put our stuff out. I immediately the next day went down and filed an appeal. It cost me $935 and I won the appeal.
When? When did you win the appeal?
That was in May.
So
I didn't find out that I won it until June, though.
All right.
But in May, she did give me.
So you had rights to it from May through August.
Yeah, I've never.
All right. Do you contest she didn't have rights to the residence?
She did eventually win, yes.
All right. You were about to leave that little part out.
No, I was going to.
So why haven't you paid? Well, let's go back. Why haven't you paid her from May through August?
May was when he gave me the 3-day notice for the sheriff to put my stuff out. The property
Did you stay
owner.
May?
I did.
All right, so let's start with where you did the months you stayed. You stayed the month of May. All this eviction, we didn't get past that. That's appeal, loss, over. May, June, July, August. Why haven't you paid those to the person you had a sublease with? That's who you owed, her.
I paid the property owner because that's
you
what my
paid the
lawyer
wrong
told me to
person. Your counterclaim for $630 for a plumbing issue. How does she owe you for that?
So, can I back up a minute for August rent? Because I moved out on August 7th. I gave her a 30-day notice. She told me
When did you give her the 30-day notice?
On July 3rd, she asked me, she said she had the apartment rented. She needed to know when I moved out. I texted her back and said, I'll be out the first week of August, and I have that here.
All right. Ma'am, is that true?
She had said a couple of times that she was going to be out. So I don't,
No, she said she gave you a 30-day notice telling you on
she gave
July
me
3rd.
in writing on the 29th of July that she would be out by August 7th.
And then on the 29th of July,
You just told me it was July 3rd,
It
ma'am.
is. It's right there on the text message, sir.
Did you get my text? This is from her. When you said you were moving, I had to find someone to move in. I need a date to give them for move-in. I was going to pay the rent this month and be out by the 1st. My whole house, I need a copy of my lease. And what was your response, ma'am?
Well, that was when I called her on the phone. And she has told me before that she was going to be out by the 1st. So
yeah, because this was a response to her question, ma'am, about her needing her keys. This wasn't you giving her a formal notice that I'm moving
I have
as
the formal
is required.
notice.
What is that?
This is the one she sent me on July 29th that
There you
said
go.
she'd be out.
This is a formal notice, ma'am, not a conversation. I'm sending notice to both parties. And this was signed. This is what you do, ma'am. And that I will be completely out on August 7th. Where do I see the date, though?
The date is not on there.
Well, then how do I know it was July 29th?
I don't think that she would contest. She sent it to me the day after we went to eviction court.
When did you send this?
I sent it the day after eviction court. It was towards the end of July.
We had eviction court on July 28th. I got it on July 29th.
My lawyer
All
told
right,
me
man.
to
Well, you
go
didn't
ahead
give her 30-day notice. All right. And how does she owe you for the plumbing once again?
So on July 3rd, I had a sewer backup, which I have pictures for, that flooded my house. I couldn't get her or Eric to help me with that.
You notified her?
Yes, I did.
Let's see it, please, Dora.
I texted her, which I think you
It's the
already
same
have,
text?
asking her what was up with the rent, yada, yada, yada. She texted me back that her apartment flooded and that she needed the copy of the lease. So I then immediately called her and I'm like, what's going on? She said, the toilet overflowed. I've already called the owner. He says he's gonna fix it. I said, okay, keep me posted. The next day is the 4th of July. I'm having a party. I've got like 50 people in my backyard. It's the 4th of July. I see her walking by with her grandson. She looks distraught. So I go out there. I'm like, what's going on? She says, he came, he took the toilet off, and he left. He hasn't fixed it yet. I said, well, keep me posted. Let me know what's going on. I then continued to text her, asking her what was going on with the toilet, and she would not reply.
Look, I'm at work. I didn't say I wasn't going to pay you. I got to move storage.
That's about the money that she owes me. The second page is about the toilet.
You don't want to talk about the money she owes?
Yeah, I thought okay, yeah.
I think that's a little more important.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would have switched issues immediately. Yeah, Your Honor, that's what I'm really here to talk about. I'll give it to him, and then I'll find a way to get you your $250 for this month.
And last.
You agreed to give her the $250. I did. Man. So why are we going through all this? Have a good day. Judgment for the plaintiff. Your claim is dismissed.
I don't know. It's Heidi. We've fallen out before, and we usually make up again. I'm just kind of used to it. She'll need something eventually.